God.
Intelligent Ramblings with your host, Bill Lofton. Co-hosted by Gary Glenn and William Howington with help from John Cohn.
Welcome to Intelligent Ramblings. I'm Bill Lofton. I'm your host with the most, and joining me are all my cohorts, Mr. Gary Glenn, top right, top left, bottom left, Mr. John Cohn, and that's William Howington at the bottom. Hope everybody had a good week. We had a lot of interesting stuff going on with in college football. Had a couple that are unbeatens that are now beatens. Texas Tech beat Houston 50-40, 31-11. That's it, 31-11, and left no doubt in that conference who's the top dog. And so Houston is now 4-1, and Texas Tech is number 5-0. And we also had Iowa State Iowa State lost to Cincinnati. I had read that wrong. It was close, 33-30, but Iowa State is no longer amongst the undefeated. Does anybody out there know how many undefeated teams there are right now in college football? Give me a guess. You three guys. You're the only ones I can see.
8.
You said 4? William said 8. Gary? How many?
I'll split the difference. I'll say 6.
You're all not close. 15.
Really?
Holy cow.
15.
Major college?
Major college. I'll read the list for you real fast. BYU, Georgia Tech, Indiana, Memphis, Miami, Missouri, Navy, North Texas, Ohio State, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Oregon, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, and UNLV are all undefeated. And the ones that I can see that will be one of the defeateds will be Indiana is playing Oregon. That's that game that I've found so far that's going to wipe out somebody. I think that's the only 2 unbeatens that are playing against each other. Yep. That's the only 2 unbeatens playing against each other is Oregon, Indiana, which should be a barn burner. Indiana went undefeated the whole year last year until they ran into Ohio State, if I'm remembering correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so, I'm wondering, is that more undefeated teams? It seems like it is. More undefeated teams at this point in the season than we've had in the past.
Yeah, it seems like it.
And is that a reflection, if true, is that a reflection of some of the parity that's moving into college football thanks to the transfer portal and NIL? Is it like spreading the talent out and having an effect on team records?
I'd say that's one factor, or maybe 2 factors. Parity in the college football these days and the NIL, which translates into parity because people are moving around trying to get more exposure in order to increase their value or their perceived value to the market. So I think that's a very good observation, John. I think that's probably true.
Plus,
I certainly know there's more parity.
Like cupcakes.
That's true. That's part of it. There's a lot of factors. But usually by this time, let me say this real quick. By this time, 6 or 7 games in, you've played at least one good team. Sometimes 2.
Agreed.
So it's a bit unusual for 15 to be undefeated.
I absolutely agree with that. That's and I'm I think, like you're saying, it's the parity that we've not seen in a long time. I mean, Navy's 5-0. So that's, Navy is a great college, and they provide us with officers obviously for the Navy, but they're not a 5-0 ball club kind of thing. That's just not normal. But you see these teams that are able to play against these other teams, and then you got the crazy games like last week. UCLA, who is the bottom of the dregs. Scraping the trough bottom. And they beat Penn State, who up until a week ago was the number 2 or 3 team in the country. Really? If I would have taken a bet on any game that was played last week, that would have been the one that I would have said, there's no way in hell that UCLA can stay in the ballpark with Penn State. But they did.
We all picked Penn State last week to win that game.
And I'm betting
What happened? Did Nico Iamaleava, however you pronounce that, did he just explode on Penn State and go crazy for a gazillion yards or something?
I know he had a lot of yards. Rushing the ball, but basically they couldn't keep him in the pocket.
Well, sometimes, you just have a bad day and the other guy has a really good day.
And they fired their coach. They got a new coaching staff.
Yeah, but they're not going to do anything in 1 week.
Well, they must have done something. Got them fired up.
Well, nobody in the world expected them to win, and they were 24.5-point underdogs. So,
if you were a bet man, you took a bath on that one. That's for sure.
Well, it's the first 0-4 or worse team to beat a top 10 team in 40 years. That's how big it was. How large it is. 40 years. Since something like this happened. So we're talking 40 years, 25, that's like 1985, since the last time a upset that large started.
The year I got married.
Damn, that is a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this little write-up in ESPN says Nico had 5 touchdowns, and I'm noticing here he threw for 166 yards, and which is like in less than 200 yards he scored 5 touchdowns passing, and also had 128 yards rushing, and scored rushing the ball 3 times. So it was like Nico was the entire offense.
The Nico show.
The Nico show, exactly. Just went nuts on him.
What about Texas going down to the swamp and losing to Florida?
Yeah.
Everybody's giving up on in the SEC. You're like, that guy's trying to get his job, Napier. That's all he's fighting for now is a job. He's done.
I will note that we all picked Texas to win that one, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Those are the 2 I did not pick right this week. It was the 2 major upsets.
Kind of makes you, I'm thinking, is this like a statement about Florida? Are they really that good? Or is Arch Manning in Texas just kind of thrashing around right now trying to figure it out?
I think it's Texas is thrashing around, although Florida does have a really good defense. They don't have much of an offense, but they've got a great defense, like top 3 in the country defense. So, they're going to bumble and fumble.
Well, they got
and
tremendous
lose.
athletes. It's about time they came together. I knew that they'd do that.
Well,
They do have some great athletes all over that squad.
Well, and, that's the kind of thing that gets the coach fired. And they say, Coach, you beat Texas. Why can't you do this all the time? You got these great athletes.
Yep.
So, just saying.
If they keep winning, he won't be fired.
Well, folks, why don't we take a quick commercial and we'll come back and do some up-to-date picks on what we think is going to happen next week here on Intelligent Ramblings.
Intelligent Ramblings is brought to you in part by Pat Williamson, a proud Dragon alumnus and a strong supporter of Jefferson athletics and academics.
Well, here we are at Intelligent Ramblings College Football, 8 October 2025.
Indeed, indeed.
And let's do some picking. Number 1, Ohio State at number 17 and once beaten Illinois. Ohio State's at 14.5 favorite.
Well, Ohio State is one of those 15 unbeaten teams Bill was talking about. They're 5-0. Illinois, though, too shabby. They're 5-1. Ryan Day, the Ohio State coach, Brett Bielema, the coach of Oklahoma, or Illinois, I should say. Get to Oklahoma in a little bit. Well, the Buckeyes have been the class of college football so far. The quarterback is Julian Sayin, and he is top-notch. He leads the Buckeyes with a very strong receiving core. They average over 37 points a game. And the running back is capable. He could have a good game. And the Illinois defense now, guys, the Illini are suspect against the run. Ohio State, on the other hand, has the top-ranked defense in the country. They give up about 5 points a game. And if they can keep from turning it over, they should cover the spread. I'll say a but here. They also average right at 37 points a game. They got a good quarterback in Luke Altmaier. He completes almost 77% of his passes. He's got 12 touchdowns and no interception. The defense, though, allows a lot of yards rushing. In fact, they gave up 312 against Indiana, which, was a pretty good thrashing. And their red zone defense is ranked 85th in the country. 63-10 was the final versus Indiana. So I think you put the Ohio State offense with the Ohio State defense, and I think Ohio State wins and they cover the spread.
Well, I'm in agreement with you, Gary, completely, all the way. I think Illinois may be able to stay with them for a while, but Ohio State it's the best ball team in America. And they have been able to slide those defensive backs in, the one they stole from Alabama, the 5-star defensive back. I can't think of his name. Kind of put it out of my memory when he went to Ohio State rather than coming to Georgia. And I think he is a local product. But I agree with you that Ohio State will definitely win and will cover.
Like I said, you got somebody that's averaging almost 37 points a game, and they only give up 5. So
Sounds like the 22 Dogs.
It does. Kind of reminds you of that, doesn't it?
Well, we'll see what they're made out of this week. Good competition. William, you
All
got
right.
anything to say?
No, I got Ohio State covering. I think they're the cream of the crop.
Indiana, number 7, Indiana at number 3, Oregon, in a battle of the unbeatens.
Well, this game will be on CBS at 3:30 from Eugene, Oregon. Indiana and Oregon both 5-0 and feature two of the best running attacks in the country. Indiana is 5th nationally in rushing offense, while Oregon is 11th. The Hoosiers early this year gashed Illinois, piling up over 300 yards rushing in the 63-10 rout. The top 4 rushers have combined for 14 rushing touchdowns this year. In the passing game, receiver Reagan Sadiq, the tight end, has 3 touchdowns and averages over 13 yards per catch. Oregon is coached by former Georgia assistant Dan Lanning, and Indiana is coached by Kurt Cignetti. Indiana was the darling last year, and like Bill said, they went undefeated until they played Ohio State. And they're off to a great start this year. Dante Moore is quarterback for Oregon, while Fernando Mendoza leads Indiana. Both are Heisman candidates. Mendoza is a Cal transfer. Here's that transfer portal coming into play. The Hoosiers boast the number 5 total offense in the nation, average 538 yards per game and 48 points per game. This should be a good one. My pick, though, is Oregon to cover the 7.5 points.
When I think of these two ball clubs, I think of the word that describes them both is fast. They're real quick. They're real fast. And when I think of Oregon, I think of that offensive and defensive line, which are extremely strong. I'm thinking that Oregon's going to take this one out because they're at home, and I'm picking them not to cover. I think it's going to be a field goal kind of game.
Indiana, as we've seen, has got the capability of scoring a lot of points, but they scored a lot of points against Illinois. They did not score a lot of points against Oregon. And I think it's going to be a close game, but I'm going to pick Oregon, and I'm going to pick them to cover. I think they may be just about 8 points better than Indiana down the stretch. And this was maybe decided late in the game.
Yeah, I've got Oregon and to cover the spread also because it's at home, and I'm sentimental about Dan Lanning. I thought he was a great coach when he was at Georgia, and so I've got
Wish he
Oregon.
still was.
And
I wish he
cover
still
the
was.
spread.
Mm-hmm.
Washington State at number 4, Ole Miss. 32.5.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, it's possible that Ole Miss could cover that. So Washington State at number 4, Ole Miss on Saturday at 12:45 p.m. on the SEC network. ESPN Analytics gives Ole Miss a 98% chance of winning. That's for it's just like, how do you not just go ahead and give them 100? I mean, you're within 2. The coaches are for Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, and Washington State, Jimmy Rogers. Ole Miss is ranked 7th on the Football Power Index. Washington State is all the way down at 101st. The Washington State Cougars visit Vaught Hemingway Stadium in Oxford, Mississippi this week. The Ole Miss Rebels are coming off a victory against LSU 2 weeks ago and had a bye week to rest and recuperate. Look out, Cougars. Ole Miss is in the driver's seat in the SEC right now, and I think their offense is just too potent, and their defense is good enough to stifle Washington State and cover the spread. And that is quite a spread. Lane Kiffin has no qualms about running up the score, and I think we'll see a lot of that. So I've got Ole Miss to win and cover the spread.
I think your point about Kiffin is well taken. Plus, this is the time of year where you want to, when you can do it, you want to put up some style points, John. get those people considering you toward the end of the year. And I think it's going to be hot and funny, and Ole Miss is going to do it to them, and I think they cover.
It would not surprise me if Ole Miss put 70 on Washington State.
I'm going to have to think about that cover, but I definitely have Ole Miss. Now, I've got them down to cover, but, you just never know.
Yeah. UCLA, Penn State.
Yeah, you never know. Florida at number 5, Texas A&M. Texas A&M's a 7.5 point favorite. It's going to be at 7 p.m. on ESPN. Well, Florida pulled off last week in Gainesville as they beat highly ranked Texas Longhorns 29-21 with a standout performance from running back Jaden Ball, who rushed for over 100 yards against Texas, and newcomer Dallas Wilson, who caught 2 touchdown passes, made an impactful debut against the Longhorns. But Mike Elko has got it going on down in College Station. The Aggies have their best start since 2016 at 5-0. Quarterback Marcel Reed has been impressive, leading an explosive offense that features playmakers like Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion, both combining for 1,000 total yards and contributing 11 touchdowns this season. The odds favor Texas A&M under the bright lights of Kyle Field. ESPN's football index gives them a 73.9% chance of victory. And I will have to agree with that. The Aggies will cover the spread.
I think Florida got really fired up. It was a pretty good matchup for the Gators against Texas. Might have been a little bit of a fluke as well. I don't think they've got it in them to go play that kind of game again, especially on the road, especially in College Station, especially against the Texas A&M team that's really pretty good this year. So I think the Aggies win, and I think they cover that 7.5.
I agree, Gary. I think this is at Soldier Field. The Texas has the advantage of the 12th man, and so really the spread, if you give them a touchdown for that, then the spread is really 0.5, and I just see Texas A&M beating Florida. They're out of the swamp. They're wandering around trying to figure out what's happening to them, and I think Texas A&M takes this one and covers the spread.
Well, I thought about this one long and hard because Florida's got 5-star athletes out the wazoo, and if they play like they're capable of playing, they'll beat Texas A&M. But I'm going with Texas A&M to cover, just simply because it's at Texas A&M.
Is that everybody?
Everybody.
I think we're all picking A&M.
Alabama, number 8, at number 14, Missouri. Alabama by 2.5.
Well, this one's Saturday at noon on ABC, and Alabama is, like you said, a 2.5 point favorite. It was a 3 point favorite. I guess the betting has moved some. It's 4-1, while Missouri is 5-0. This should be a good one. The Caleb DeBoer-led Crimson Tide have gaudy offensive numbers: 452 yards per game, rushing 127 yards, and passing for 325 yards. They torched Georgia 2 weeks ago for Georgia's only loss. It looks like the ship has been righted since an opening day loss to Florida State. Undefeated Missouri is 4th overall in the nation with 548 yards per game, 292 yards rushing, which is 3rd, and their defense is 2nd in the FBS, allowing just 198 yards. So it's Alabama's offense with Ty Simpson at quarterback against Missouri's stout defense. For Alabama rushing, Jamarian Miller leads with 182 yards, and receiving, Jeremy Bernard has 392 yards on 23 catches and 5 touchdowns. Eli Drinkwitz Tigers are led by quarterback Bo Pribula with 1,203 yards passing and 9 touchdowns. Rushing is Ahmad Hardy, who was just on SportsCenter a few minutes ago, showed his highlights, and I mean they are some highlights. The guy really runs tough. He has 730 yards already on 103 carries and 9 touchdowns. This should be a good one at noon Saturday. My pick, though, is Alabama to cover the 2.5.
Well, I'm picking Alabama. I don't like it. Don't like them, but I'm picking them, and I'm picking them to cover.
Ditto. I think the Crimson Tide have rallied. They've discovered a winning formula. Of course, all that tradition. You can say what you want to about that, but when you're expected to win, a lot of times you live up to your expectations, don't you? I think they win, and I think they cover. Although Missouri's tough. Can't write the Tigers off by any stretch of the imagination. This is one of those, you wouldn't be surprised if it goes the other way, but I'm still going to pick Alabama.
I hear you, Gary. It's at Missouri, and it could be they've been waiting all season for this game, and they figure out how to beat Alabama. But I don't really see that happening. I've got Alabama to win and cover the spread. And if I could for just a second, let's step back and look at this week's games. Maybe this is something we could talk about at the end. We've got Florida at Texas A&M, Oklahoma at Texas, Alabama at Missouri, Georgia at Auburn, Michigan at USC. These are some great football games. So just quite a lineup of football coming this weekend. And as you can tell, I'm excited about it.
All right now.
Yeah. Go, John.
Go, John. Kansas at number 9 and undefeated Texas Tech. 14.5.
ESPN Analytics gives Texas Tech a 74% chance of winning this game. Texas Tech comes in at 14 in the Football Power Index. Kansas comes in at 30. The Texas Tech Red Raiders are first in overall offense in the FBS and 4th in the FBS for points allowed by their defense, which is a good combination for Red Raider fans and a bad combination for the Jayhawk Nation. Also, the Red Raiders are ranked number 1 nationally in their defensive stop rate, which is an interesting statistic, over 85%. So that's number 1. By the way, that's ahead of number 2, Oklahoma. So that's how good they are on defense. I think the Red Raiders continue their 5-game winning streak, defeat the Jayhawks, and cover the spread.
John, you talked me into it. I had originally looked at that one and said, I don't know if they can cover 14.5, but I think you talked me into it. So change my cover to that one to a positive. Yes, I think they win and I think they cover.
Okay.
Ditto for me. I picked them to cover.
Yeah, I picked Texas Tech to cover too. I just can't pick Kansas against them. This would be a good one, I guess, to pick an upset because there'd be another UCLA Penn State game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do we need to back up and pick Texas and Oklahoma? We skipped over the Red River rivalry.
Did we skip over it?
Yeah,
Well,
because that's one of my games.
I just guessed this I'll have to have a word with the guy doing our graphics because you're absolutely correct. Why don't I leave it on Alabama? I'll just leave it on Texas Tech, Kansas, and Gary, give us your analysis on the Red River rivalry.
Well, of course, it is a rivalry game. They've been playing this thing for a very, very long time. Oklahoma comes in at 5-0, and Texas at the Longhorns, I would think, a very disappointing 3-2. Now, the big question, though, for Oklahoma, does John Mateer play? They've waffled on this back and forth for a while now. You know, he broke a bone in his hand. It was his throwing hand, too. But I think he had the surgery and all, or whatever they did to repair it back on September the 24th. So he's had some time, and the coach is he's kind of reticent to say one way or the other, too, about what is going to happen. Brent Venables is kind of playing it close to the vest. So this could literally be a game day decision whether Mateer plays or not. But don't sell his backup short now. This guy's Michael Hawkins Jr., of course, will change the offensive strategy if Mateer doesn't play. But Hawkins has experience, although I think he's only a sophomore. He's had 7 games that he's played with 4 starts. His statistics are decent. Hawkins is 76 for 120 for 788 yards, 3 touchdowns, and only 2 interceptions. So they've got a competent offense without Mateer, but with Mateer playing, and even if he's a little bit rusty, I think they get it done. And then you say, look at Oklahoma's on their defense. The offense is potent, but their defense, they are allowing the fewest points in the whole SEC. And they're also second in sacks and tackles for a loss. So they get after you on defense. And the Texas offensive line has had some problems protecting Arch Manning. So Coach Steve Sarkisian's had a few head-scratching moments for sure. And as we said before, this may be a game day decision on Mateer or Hawkins who's going to get the start. Hawkins had 4 touchdowns in that 44-0 thrashing of Kent State. He had 3 passing touchdowns. He also rushed for a touchdown. Had 162 yards passing and 33 yards rushing. I'm picking Oklahoma. I think the combination of the Sooner offense, whichever quarterback they put in there, plus a kind of a suffocating defense, just too much for Texas, who is still kind of trying to find their way this year. And they have been pedestrian at best so far. I don't see them turning it around against a rival like this.
Well, according to the NCAA rules, Venables had to get in by 8 o'clock tonight, which is right when we started the show, whether or not he's going to quarterback or whether or not he's going to play or not. And he could put down probable and not have to worry about whether he's in or out. Maybe somebody can look up there on their phone and see whether or not what Venables put down for his situation. But I'm going with Texas Tech to cover the 14.5 points.
You're going with Texas?
I'm sorry, Texas. No,
I'm going
with Oklahoma.
Yeah, and so they changed that around too. Now Oklahoma's now favored, right?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Well, by about 3, John?
I've got 1.5 points.
I think they cover that.
Yeah, I think they cover that too. I'm going with Oklahoma. That's what I put down on my sheet.
John, who are you going for?
I have got Oklahoma to cover the spread.
Well, I'm going to disagree with all of you. They're playing
Well, of course you will.
at Texas, and they're playing in Austin. And I think this is the time that Arch may not be superhero, but I think he'll survive the day. His superhero days are pretty much over after Florida banged him up. They really put him through it. And I think that's how you control Texas. But I think Texas has got enough athletes, and I think they've got enough willpower and Longhorn in them that the Longhorns will triumph in the Red River triumph. Although I dislike Texas almost as much as I do several other teams. It's one of my hate teams in the SEC. Oklahoma, I don't care about because we just beat them every year. So I don't have to worry about cover. I don't have to worry about it covering. So I'm just going with Texas.
I think the Oklahoma defense is going to. They've already, as we said, they're already one of the best defenses statistically in the SEC. They get a lot of sacks. They get a lot of tackles for losses. So that tells me that the Texas offensive line has been suspect from the protection that they give Arch Manning. And I still think I'm picking Oklahoma, and I still think they'll cover.
Well, if Metier is the quarterback for Oklahoma Saturday, I will change my pick. But I don't think running a second-string quarterback against Texas is going to do them justice.
I think Brent Venables has a little something dialed up for Texas, and I just think it's going to be whoever's at quarterback at Oklahoma on Saturday is gonna they'll be fine.
Number 10, Georgia at Auburn, 7:30 p.m. on ABC. Georgia's a 3.5-point favorite. The last couple of years of my dad's life, who was an Auburn grad and football player under Chuck Jordan, was banned from my home and TV during Auburn, Georgia weekend. That is how serious folks around here get about this game. As many know how I feel, Georgia could go 1-10. As long as they beat Auburn, I could somehow live with that season. Georgia is headed to the Heathens' home, Jordan-Hare Stadium, where historically Auburn tends to lose to Georgia and turn fire hoses on them. This year could be tough, but manageable. Auburn started off on fire at 3-0, but since then, they have cooled off considerably by losing to Oklahoma and Texas A&M the last 2 weeks, while Georgia is only 3 points from them being undefeated with a loss to the hated Alabama. Auburn quarterback Jackson Arnold is one that needs to be taken seriously. He can run and he can throw, but he seems to be very inconsistent. He's thrown for 5 TDs and has a 60.0 quarterback rating. Jeremiah Cobb has 403 yards rushing with 4 TDs, while their best receiver is Eric Singleton, a transfer from Georgia Tech, has 27 receptions and 2 TDs. This will not be enough to deter the Dogs from stomping on the Tigers or War Eagles or whatever they're calling themselves this week. Quarterback Gunter Stockton looked as sharp as a tack when the Dogs took out Kentucky last week, 35-14. Stockton has thrown for 1,047 yards and connected for 6 TDs while running for an additional 5 TDs. Freshman running back Chauncey Bowens has 310 yards rushing with 3 TDs. And I believe his stats will improve dramatically as he has outshined the rest of the Georgia running backs. Georgia also has the best receiving core in recent memory. So, Georgia can run, throw, and has a pretty damn good defense. And they're consistent. So I don't think this will be close. Dogs win and cover easily.
I was actually at that game between the hoses. And Georgia plays at Auburn. They play them very well. It's the oldest rivalry in the Deep South, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I think that's the oldest rivalry in the Deep South.
You're correct.
And I think that they'll take it to the Tigers over there on the plains of Auburn. And I think they cover.
Well, I'll say the same thing I said a couple of weeks ago. If I were a Georgia guy, I'd pick Auburn. I think Auburn's got the athletes and they're at home and can beat Georgia. But I can't pick against Georgia. So I'll take them and cover. And by the way, I looked it up. Metier, Venables listed him as questionable. for the game. Questionable.
Well, you just don't want to give it away to Texas.
Well, he has to turn it in by 8 o'clock tonight.
Mhm.
And he turned it in as questionable. As
Well,
opposed
that's
to
wiggle room there. That doesn't tell you anything. That just means he might play. I could have told you that.
well, he just
Oh, well.
he covered the law.
John, who are you picking on this game?
I've got Georgia and to cover the spread, which we all have, by the way. Just looking at the results of the picks so far. Something about being at home for this game doesn't make a lot of difference. Auburn's beat Georgia at Georgia. Georgia's beat Auburn at Auburn. It's kind of like the things that you usually think about, home field advantage, stuff like that, just don't apply.
It's like I said, historically, Georgia has lost in Athens and won in Auburn.
Yeah.
And I mean, a couple of years ago, it was like every other year they would swap. And wherever they were playing away, I would say, I hope they play Auburn in Auburn this year.
Well, like I said, I've got Georgia to win and cover, and I have my fingers crossed for a little breakout game where Georgia gets everything working, every part of their game working for this game, and
that would be nice.
The result is great.
That would be nice.
They're due.
They are due. They look pretty damn good against Kentucky.
Yeah.
South Carolina at number 11, LSU. 9.5 point favorite.
Yeah, LUS down there in Baton Rouge, South Carolina. Gamecocks coming in at 3-2, 1-2 in the SEC. LSU is 4-1 and 1-1 in the league. And they both had a bye week last week, so they're coming in, should be fresh. Brian Kelly is the coach of LSU, and he's got an awesome defense. They're giving up a little over 12 points a game, which is 6th in the country. Only give up 293 yards a game total, and only 84.4 on the ground. So they are tough against the run. That's the side of things. The Bayou Bengals have 3 good receivers, and Aaron Anderson, Xavier Thomas, and Nick Anderson. And their running back, Caden Durham, may be back from an ankle injury, and they use that to perk up their offense. They're averaging about 27 points a game against all opponents. Against the FBS schools, they're only scoring 19. So if they get Durham back and the receivers have a good game, they can score some points. Shane Beamer's got a dual threat quarterback for the Gamecocks in Lenora Stones, and they've got good special teams. They're sometimes great, you might say, particularly Vicari Swain on punt returns. He's had 3 punt returns for touchdowns this year. And the defense can make some plays. They're very opportunistic. They've had picks and fumble returns for touchdowns. But, and this is the big but, the Gamecocks are led in total and rushing offense. They can't sustain drives, and they get a lot of penalties, averaging almost 70 yards a game in penalties. And Baton Rouge at night, take the Bengals and taking the cover share. So LSU wins this one, I think.
I'm going to agree with you, Gary. I'm going with LSU, and I've got them to cover. It's a different world down there in Baton Rouge.
I was going to say, on paper, this is a big mismatch. Definitely LSU to cover.
That's the way I have it, too. I feel bad for the Gamecocks going in there with all those crazy Cajuns. It's just going to be rough.
Is it a night game?
Yeah, it's a night game. They'll have all day to get good and liquored up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they will be.
Oh, yeah.
Virginia Tech at number 13, Georgia Tech. Tech's 14.5 point favorite.
Well, it's hard to believe, but Georgia Tech is 5-0 and ranked 13th. This game's at 3:30 on the ACC network at Bobby Dodd Stadium in downtown Atlanta. The Yellow Jackets are 5-0 and a 14.5-point favorite over the Hokies, who are 2-4. Tech's quarterback Haynes King is the grease that oils the offense. Without him, they're not that good. Georgia Tech has a win probability of 82%. Quarterback King is 74 of 108 passing for 3 touchdowns and a paltry 758 yards. But like I said, he gets the yards when he needs them. He also has 73 carries for 380 yards and 7 touchdowns. On the other hand, Virginia Tech's quarterback Kieran Drones has passed for 1,216 yards. That's nothing to sneeze at. Georgia Tech has really improved, and you remember it took Georgia 8 overtimes to beat them last year. So far, Georgia Tech has beaten Wake Forest, Temple, Clemson, Gardner-Webb, and Colorado, while the Hokies have beaten North Carolina State and Wofford, but lost to Wake Forest, Old Dominion, and Vanderbilt. Georgia Tech's won a lot of close games this year. They haven't really dominated anybody except for Gardner-Webb. The rest of them have been pretty close. And like I said, it's at 3:30 on the ACC network and should prove moderately interesting. My pick is Georgia Tech to cover the 14.5.
I'm picking Tech as well, Georgia Tech as well. I keep saying Tech because that's what we call them down here in Georgia. I'm picking Georgia Tech as well, but I'm picking them not to cover.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bill. If my Tech quarterback can light it up, and I think he keeps it close. I think Tech's going to win, but I don't think they're going to cover either. I think the Yellow Jackets pull it out over by Tech, the Hokies, but I'm not sure that they're going to be to the tune of 2 touchdowns plus. So that's my pick.
I've got Georgia Tech to win and cover. I think they're going to stick to their old strategy of what's been successful all season. Run first, even if you're the quarterback. And I don't think Virginia Tech's as good a team as, say, Wake Forest, who Georgia Tech beat last weekend. Wake Forest has a halfway decent football team. Virginia Tech, not so good. So, like I said, I've got Georgia Tech to win and cover at home.
Yeah, but Wake Forest beat Virginia Tech.
That's true. Well, thanks for pointing that out, William.
I'm going to have to rethink some of these games. We need to pick an upset somewhere along the way. I'm going to have to figure out which 2 or 3 I'm going to pick. I'll sit there tomorrow.
I'm the only one so far that's made a tough choice, like I do every week.
Well, if I had to pick, I'd go with Auburn, but I can't pick against Georgia.
Why not? John did last year. I didn't even forget about it yet.
I did this year.
And he did this year, and he lost this year.
Well, I made a tough choice last week and got it handed to me. So don't hear about tough choices.
Number 15, Michigan at University of Southern California, who has a 2.5 point. Is that right? USC is.
Yeah, they're favored, but not by much.
That don't make sense. But anyway, that's the game. Go ahead.
So number 15, Michigan at USC. And yes, USC is favored by 2.5 on Saturday, 7:30 p.m. on NBC. ESPN Analytics gives USC a 68% chance of winning. The coaches are USC Lincoln Riley and Michigan Sharon Moore. Michigan comes in at 12th in the FPI and USC is at 10. So closely ranked in the Football Power Index. This is a classic matchup between two football teams with a lot of history. Those of you old enough to remember will recall Michigan's teams, coached by Bo Schembechler, playing against the great USC teams, coached by John McKay. You can almost hear Keith Jackson's introduction before the kickoff.
That was
Whoa, Nelly.
And that was when football was football.
I think Michigan comes into this game with a chip on their shoulder. They got their head coach, Sharon Moore, back off suspension last week, and it played a part in their win over Wisconsin. This is like any other rivalry game. Throw out the records. It's who wants it more. And I've got Michigan to win. So that's my pick. Michigan wins. If that's an upset, which I don't know, I mean, this is, if you ask me, either team could reasonably win this game, but I've got Michigan.
I'm going Michigan too.
I think you're right, John. I think either team could win this game. It's a rivalry. I think Southern Cal, though, is playing better. They are at home. I think they want to defend their turf. Michigan is going to be a long way from home. I think USC wins, and I think they cover that. I think maybe they'll win the field goal. But I'm going to pick the Trojans in this one.
I almost went with USC, but I went with Michigan. I think.
Oh, so I'm only one USC then. Okay.
One, you're going to either do good or bad.
So be it.
So be it.
But I might change some of my picks, so I'll be on the low man on the total poll.
North Carolina State at number 16. Notre Dame's a 21.5 point favorite. It's 3:30 p.m. on Peacock. Some people are asking, why is Notre Dame even ranked after losing their first two games? Well, mainly because after the first two games, the rest is gravy. Not one ranked team for the rest of the year, and they have only lost by a combined point total of 4 points to both teams that are ranked in the top 5. So Notre Dame has a good ball club, no doubt, and will work its way back into the college football playoff. That's a big if they run the rest of their games this season. And I think there's a good chance of that happening. Notre Dame quarterback C.J. Carr has passed for 1,280 yards and 11 TDs and an 80 quarterback rating, while running back Jeremiah Love has rushed for 444 yards and 6 TDs, with wide receiver Jordan Faison has 327 yards and 2 TDs. That's some good stats for a team with 2 losses. While North Carolina State has a 4-2 record, their only good win was against Virginia, who is 5-1. So they have the possibility of being a giant killer on any given day. So this could get interesting. Quarterback C.J. Bailey has thrown 1,660 yards for 13 TDs and has a QBR of 81.5. While running back Hollywood Smothers, don't you just love that name? Great name. Hollywood Smothers has 693 yards rushing and 5 TDs, and top receiver Terrell Anderson has 388 yards and 3 TDs. So if Notre Dame plans on that playoff berth, they better get ready for this up-and-coming Wolfpack from North Carolina State. I'm picking Notre Dame to win anyway, but I don't think they will cover.
I'm
I
going
think
with
they
Notre
win.
Dame.
And go ahead, William.
Well,
I think the Irish win, and I think they cover. Again, we're talking style points here. The Irish want to prove something, like Billy says. They've only lost by a total of 4 points against some of the best teams in the country, but they were losers. But they worked their way back into being the 16th team in the country, and they want to get some insurance. I think they're going to, and of course, NC State, Wolfpack is an FBS team. I think they want some style points out of this. I think they beat them by 3 touchdowns at least. That's so they cover.
Yeah, I got them covering too. Notre Dame. North Carolina State lost to Virginia Tech, of all people. So they're not that good, although they have won a couple.
They got some good stats, though.
Yeah, they got some good stats. They can hold it close to Notre Dame. Notre Dame may not cover, but I got them covering.
John?
I've got Notre Dame to cover. NC State is they are as bad as you think they are, and Notre Dame is just gonna.
They're 4-2.
I know, but look who they've lost to, and I think Notre Dame at this point in the season, as Gary was pointing out, and you have said also, they're trying to work their way back into the running into the CFP picture, and I don't think they let up on anybody, least of all NC State. So, like I said, I've got Notre Dame to cover.
In fact, John, if they smell blood, this one might get ugly.
That's true. Well, let's see where we are. Who's good and who's not good on these picks. Correct pick so far. William with 56, he's at 76%. John, who is overtaking Gary now, at 55 good picks for 74%. Gary at 73% with 54 good picks. And me still at the bottom, but I'm dragging my way out of there. Even though I make those tough picks that you guys pick all the home teams, I've made a couple where I wanted to see if I could jump up on top, and it didn't work out. So I'm at 72% with 53, but I'm 3 picks away from taking the lead. I can see it coming from behind.
No, I'd say that's pretty close.
Yeah, we're pretty close. We're kind of a tight group here.
It is.
We think alike.
Well, and we are all significantly better than ESPN.
Significantly
I just
better.
want to point that out to those of you who may be listening right now. Thank you, or who may be viewing later. Thank you.
ESPN is in the mid 60s on their picks. Maybe not on the spread. We're just learning that. But the picks of the games, we're like 10 points ahead of ESPN. So we can pick them.
That's
And
good.
to cover the spread, like I said, we're learning. William is way out in front of everybody else. He's the absolute gambler of the bunch. And I took to the watershed last week. John had a decent week. Who's that first one? Gary. Gary had a good week too. We're going to take a quick commercial, and then we'll come back and summarize the situation. Well, like the sign says, it's been scrolling the whole show. Use our QR code, which is top left of the screen, to go to our website to see all our picks and results. That way you can see it live as quick as we do them. We put them up, and the picks are always up before the games start. And that way we can't change it, and you can't see we're making this shit up as we go. We're honest as the day is long when it comes to those picks. But please do the QR code thing. I know it's kind of new, but if you go to your phone and look for QR code, you'll be able to find that, and just click on that little black and white thing up in the top left corner. Also, wanted to thank everybody that's going to listen to us after we're not live, and to fill their minds with our college football wisdom. And if you actually have any comments, once again, click on the QR code and you can send your comments to us on our website, or you can email them to us at intelligentramblings@gmail.com.
Dwight
Well-
Ware texted me during the show. He says, "Watch out on my picks, because the worst team can beat the better one." That's like UCLA and Penn State. So he might be right. We may have to
Who
pick
said that,
some-
William? I'm sorry.
Dwight Ware,
Dwight,
Yeah.
Danny's brother.
Yeah.
well,
youngest
tell
brother.
Dwight he ought to come in and put the comments on the show instead of texting you.
I guess he's scared, doesn't know how to do it or something, because I don't know how to do it myself.
You go to YouTube or you go to Facebook at Intelligent Ramblings, and it's right there. You click on live on YouTube, and you go to Facebook, our Facebook group.
He's on YouTube Live.
Well, their text is right there for them. All you got to do is type it in. There's a text thing for you.
He might be a little shy.
Oh, that's okay. Anyway, thank you for listening
Thanks,
to
Dwight.
us. And you what, Gary?
I said we appreciate it, Dwight. Thank you for watching.
Yes, we do. We appreciate you being there for us and watching our show. Anyway, hope everybody enjoyed it, and we will see you guys next week.
All
Thank
right.
you, everybody.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Good night.
We have fun doing this.
May God bless.